said if you were giving advice to the Kremlin, what would you tell them about the intentions of Washington regarding the negotiations? I mean, where are the negotiations going now?
The negotiations are a dead end. They're not serious. The United States is not serious about actually concluding an agreement with Russia. If they were serious, and I would, I'd suggest to President Putin at your next meeting with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, say, look, if we're going to have any chance of these talks succeeding, we're going to need some concrete measures, demonstrations by you that you're serious. And that means, number one, name an ambassador to Russia that's a serious person that we know is going to have direct access to President Trump. Number two, suspend all prohibitions on direct flights between Russia and the United States. That has to end. Three, end all restrictions on Russian consulates being able to be opened in the United States to facilitate travel between our two countries. Four, return the assets, the Russian property that has been seized from our diplomatic missions in New York and Washington, D.C., and lift the restriction on our diplomats being able to travel. Do those four things, and then we'll know that you're serious about talking. Otherwise, we're not going to waste our time. See if the United States does that. I don't think they would.
Well, yeah, because I often think about the negotiations they had with Iran, and Trump was making point how they're making great headway right before they launched a surprise attack on Iran. And well, if you're sitting in Moscow, you can't help but to, as Trump brands himself the peacemaker and how he's got great relationship with Putin and they're negotiating, they will get an end to this war. They're 90% done. You can't help but ignore that the war planners behind this are mainly American generals sitting in Germany. It's CIA operatives who are behind attacks on Russian refineries, on Russian ships. It's nuclear deterrent. It's American weapons launched by American contractors, guided by American satellites, targets picked by, again, American intelligence. And of course, all the Trump's argument that we have to put all these mass sanctions, pressure countries to stop trading with Russia, such as India. The talk that we have to weaken the Russian war machine, which is a way of saying we're going to destroy our economy. All of this talk, and then there's no advancements in the negotiations.
Right, right.
It's just it doesn't make any sense. Why are the Russians still going along with this? Is it do you think it's genuine, or they just again, realizing that it's a dead end, but just amusing Trump?
Well, no, I think there's an element of pressure from China, from India, lesser extent Brazil, that Russia should try to make a good faith effort to negotiate with the United States. Now, I think that there has been, in the wake of the attack on Putin's residence and the abduction of President Maduro, that the pressure that would have come from China, India, Brazil on that issue has now abated and abated significantly. I think they now recognize that the United States is a lawless country, and we see no reason whatsoever to abide by international conventions, international rules. There's no such as, and listen to Stephen Miller. They blatantly say there's no such thing as international law. We don't have to follow that. We're the biggest, we're the strongest, we're the superpower. Screw you, we're going to do what we want to do. And, if any of these countries had harbored any lingering doubts that Russia may have been exaggerating or misrepresenting the U.S. position, the United States has openly said it. It's sort of like that scene, A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson, and he's insisting that they had not carried out this abuse against this younger soldier, and finally under cross-examination he admits, "Goddamn right, I ordered a code red." That's just what Stephen Miller and Donald Trump did. They just admitted, yes, we did it. and we're going to do it again. And the rest of the world is going, whoa, wait a second. This is so much for the UN. They admitted the UN is a joke. The UN not to be paid attention to. This is the law of the jungle. And Dmitry Medvedev, I think, correctly observed and captured and commented on this within the last 24 hours. You know, it says, hey, it's who's the biggest and strongest in the jungle? It's all about force. It's not about right and wrong. It's not about law. Now, and that, listen, this cuts completely against Vladimir Putin's approach. Because as a lawyer, he has been trained to actually respect the law. You know, people say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," but no, he's made quite a point about dotting I's, crossing T's, and trying to proceed in a legal manner, in accordance with international law. Now they're being told in the course of the last 10 days that international law no longer matters, and Russia should be prepared to act accordingly.
Well, this is problem. If there's no international law and might is right, you're sending a signal out to the international system. If you want to have any protection or assume that you can have security or rights of any kind, it has to be backed by power, by weapons. And this can encourage a lot of balancing, though, of the United States. If the US essentially tells the rest of the world the only reason we're going to follow rules is because you have power you can use against us. And I think this is awakening to many states because with Venezuela, the Europeans seemed shocked that, well, why don't they just say the magic word of democracy and freedom? That's why you went into Venezuela. Then, then it's legitimate and we can support it. But instead, they just said, no, it's oil we want. It's our hemisphere.
Yeah.
Get out. It's our oil. And then, of course, when they said, also, we want Greenland, and the Europeans, they went, well, why? What claim do you have? That's, it's sovereign territory. Ah, we need it. And it's just, there's no even, at least in the past, there used to be some kind of a pretense that, well, there might be a law here or there. Now it just seems so like we're ignoring it.
Yeah, these are the tactics of organized crime. You know, you're the shop, you're running a deli or a restaurant, and the local mafia guys come in and tell you, hey, you got a nice restaurant here. Uh, you're going to be paying us. You're going to be paying us 25% of your profits every month going forward, because we'll help you keep the restaurant nice. And if you don't, the restaurant's not going to be so nice. Yeah, you got to pay up. That's what this is like. This kind of coercion, and just the fact that they insist. Oh yeah, we need Greenland for what purpose? So we can shut down Russia and China. Okay.
Yeah, and well, when the Danes and well, the Europeans in general tell the Americans, well, we're allies. You can have more bases here if you want, and they say, no, 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 we need it under our control. It kind of signals what's coming in the future as well. We might not be friends for that long, and it's better to have it under our own control. But in this negotiation, well, in this no, it was negotiations. Sorry, they keep calling negotiations when the Europeans and Americans and Ukrainians talk among themselves. They call it negotiations. I think they forget they're all on the same side against Russia.